Hello everybody, this is Military Guy. This is my first ever video doing Militaria, and I wanted to do it on my US M1 Vietnam helmet. But not only did I want to show it, I wanted to, from a beginner collector perspective, show what the tips and tricks are when looking to buy an original, either at an antique store, a military fair, or simply just online. This is the first of my helmets in my collection. I purchased it on eBay, which is always risky, but if you know what you're looking for, it is a great place to find helmets that are a lower price. Unfortunately, because US helmets are, well, US M1 helmets are American, typically they're all in America, so you'd have to pay shipping if you live in the UK like me. And unfortunately I also got charged customs because of the weight, so that was an added charge. So altogether, if you do live in the UK, it all depends really on the price of the helmet. It is really cheap then, and it is original, then it is worth it, but I'm not sure I'll be doing it again unless it is really cheap. It was from a veteran's estate clearance in Minnesota, and altogether I'm pretty happy with it. It took about a month to come because of the delays of the coronavirus with the shipping and everything, but like in America, unfortunately there isn't antique stores over here as much, and what if there is antique stores, they don't have helmets in, they'd have just old furniture and things like that. American antique stores seem to have a lot of military items, so it's definitely better in America if you are in America to be able to acquire an original US M1 helmet, because there are a lot over there. But this is also a video to help us Brits with collecting, as I don't really see many videos on YouTube of British, only a few that have actually done US M1 helmet videos that are from the Vietnam era or from simply World War II or Korea. And I just wanted to do this to help out any beginners just like myself. So before we take everything off the helmet, I'll just talk about the things that are on the helmet at the minute. So if you just come around to the back, you'll see there's a chin strap. So I'll just wore it like this just to simply get it out of the way. You see it usually just dangling down sometimes, but it was mainly put behind. And what I have here is an anchor mark chin strap. As you can see there, it has the anchor. And anchor mark chin straps were made by a company called North and Judd. This one has something called a T1 ball release. T1 ball release. As you can see here, there's a small ball that connects to this, which is the J hook. In World War II, this thing right here did not exist. The J hook simply just attached to the underneath of this. But then it was later redesigned to have this T1 ball here. So this is what it is, a T1 ball with a J hook. Now, if it has an anchor, that's definitely Vietnam War era. And if it has the T1 ball and the J hook with the OD green chin strap, then that is definitely Vietnam War. Talking about chin straps in general, green hardware, so these would have been painted green. They were 1950s made. Black hardware with an anchor mark or no anchor mark, which is just like this one here. That was made between the 1960s and early to mid 1970s. And then a P, so where the anchor would be, there would be a P. They on forums sometimes mean post-war made. However, a large amount of airborne, so if you have an airborne helmet, which is slightly different to this is just a regular infantry helmet. If you have an airborne, they were made by P, and that P stands for a company called Parish Division of the Dana Corporation. They also made helmets, but typically they also made chin straps, and those chin straps with a P on were primarily for airborne, not infantry. That's why you will see them all the time on airborne helmets, so that is something to look out for. I'm happy to have this anchor on because it means that it's probably most likely an early 1960s helmet, which this helmet completely is. So yes, that is the chin strap. There's the small thing there that attaches to the bales. In this case, these are swivel bales. but I'm really happy with that, and that's something to look for when you're collecting your Vietnam helmet. On to the next thing. For the Mitchell pattern, so this helmet here has a cover on it, as you can see. There's it has a Mitchell pattern cover. This was called. This side here is called the green leaf side. It was the summer side, and then underneath, which I'll show you when I take it off, it has a brown side, and that was for the winter side. It was typically worn though, if you see photos, on this side, because of the greenery of the canopies over in Vietnam and just the general grass and green. This was the colour that the soldiers would use. The Mitchell pattern was initially, at the end of the Korean War in 1953, it was used for the US Marine Corps shelter halves, and then in 1959 they started producing these covers. Early 1959 ones are really rare and difficult to get, so if you do manage to find one, they are rare. I will show you where to look for on a cover in a moment to find whether you do or whether you can find a 1959 cover. But yes, they were introduced in Korea, and then they were made, this pattern was introduced into Korea in Korean War, and then it was put onto helmets in the form of a cover. It's obviously not the first time that the US government used covers. They used the US Marine Corps cover in the Second World War in the Pacific, which is vaguely similar to this. It was more colourful than this, and then it had a sand side for, and you'll mainly see that in programs which is featuring like Iwo Jima, so the Pacific. That's the side they had, so they'd have the other side to what this has. But anyways, back to this helmet. This is my 1965 cover, so I'll show you what that means in a minute when I say it's a 1965. But it was produced in 1965, and it is made from a different material to what other covers are made of, and it's made from a twill. So there is a slight difference in the material of the helmet cover. Just to give you a representation of the difference, I'll just grab my only other helmet just to show you the difference. So here is what that fabric looks like, and then here is what the other one looks like. So there is a clear difference on material, as you can see there. And then to this one, it looks it's just slightly thicker, and it's actually quite a bit softer, to be fair. That might just because this helmet is wore in, as you can see there, revealing what I will be showing you next. But that there is a stainless steel rim, which indicates that it is a World War II helmet. So yes, this is my 1965 cover. So it's a nice early war when the US Marine Corps first got over into Vietnam. You can check the covers, as I'll show you in a minute when I take this off, by looking on the inside. You may see simply just a load of numbers that will contain maybe 68, 69 or 70. Some of the early ones had something called a contract number, so where it was a number, and where you can go on the internet simply, which I'll put in the link below, where you can go and just simply see where is your helmet cover dated. And it's just a really easy, simple way to know, and it's just basically the internet now is just a fantastic tool to be able to do all the research. I only have 2 helmets and only have been collecting for a few years, but it's just a really simple way to gather so much research, and then you can use that when you go out there to buy a helmet. So that is the cover for now. I'll go on to the helmet band in a moment. So as you can see, there's a helmet band here. This is what a helmet band looks like. It will go all the way around the helmet, and it is made from elasticated cotton. Now what you would notice with this is it's all plain all the way around, but here, if you can get it in the light, it says band, and then there's a small comma, helmet, small comma, camouflage US. Now it is only an original if it says that on it. It may have faded away, but it should somewhere be able to see, even if it's slightly faint like this one. Also, make sure that if you have an original one, if you come to the back, well, this is just where it is on mine, as you can see just under here, you will see a cross-stitched X rectangle shape those are the original ones. If you have any that do not have that, they are not original, they are reproduction. Or in fact, if you have one that is a later made one for the 70s and 80s called a cat eye, it will have two illuminating small strips here, so people can see them in the dark, but that is not Vietnam era. Vietnam era is simply just the cross stitch pattern, just like this, and it will have US band helmet camouflage US. I'm getting mixed up myself, but that is what it will have as an original. Now also what they will feel like is, as you can see here, they are very, very elasticated. They should have a lot of elasticity in it. If they don't, that's also a sign of the fact they are reproduction. But the main ones to tell is the writing here and the cross stitch at the back. Just a bit of information on helmet bands. They were made to basically enhance the wearer's camouflage, which is also what these are, which I didn't say. These are simply just to allow the wearer to add camouflage, branches, trees, that sort of thing in here to make themselves more camouflage. But if you were to look at the photos of the war, watch any videos, typically it's a rare occasion when soldiers did this. It always made them stand out more. So what really you'll see is either there'll be a packet of cigarettes, some bullets, M16 lubricant on the side, or insects repellent. There's things like that are on the side, or a magazine, but there was never really any camouflage. It was rare, but that's what they were made for. And the little eyelets in here, that's what they were made for as well. There's 8 either side. They were also on the US Marine Corps helmets back in the day. Now, you may also find a helmet that doesn't have a helmet band on. Now, the helmet band was only issued to the Army. It was never issued to the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps were there in Vietnam first. So what the Marines did until they began being issued them in 1968 was to add an inner tube tyre from an M151 utility vehicle. And then if you see any photos, or if you find any, they are very rare. I'd stick with the helmet bands, but they will have a strip of black inner tube tyre rubber going around. That's what that is. It's the inner tube from an M151 muck utility vehicle. Or if you will simply just see the helmets without any helmet bands on, just a chin strap, or maybe a leather chin strap, but no helmet band. That is a US Marine Corps worn helmet. This is my liner of my helmets. It is a P55 liner, so they're given names. There is a P55 liner and a P64 liner. Now I'll be showing you my P55 liner, as I do not have a P64, but eventually in my collection I'll show you the differences. But I'll try and show you now. This also isn't, I would say, possibly, I'm not sure whether it's an original paint job. As you can see there, all the paint's dried. You can see the original paint underneath. It's that green there. But as you can see, there's a white stripe that goes around the helmet. It comes all the way back round to where there is a sergeant's rank on the front. Now, what makes this different to a US World War II helmet liner is that there is usually, well I say usually, there is on a US World War II M1, there is something there which is called an eyelet. Now that was for the rank to be put in. These P55 liners were produced from 1955 to 1963, where they were replaced by the P64, and I will show you inside in a moment, but I just wanted to show you the outside just so you get an idea of what they look like. They look very similar to the World War II. I did think it was a military police helmet when I first saw it, but it doesn't look like it's in the state that a military police officer would keep their helmet. It's really badly scuffed. That might be because of age, but I'm really not sure. If anyone knows in the comments what this helmet is, to the fact of that there's a white stripe that goes all the way around, please do let me know, as I will be very interested to know. Now, if I just show you the inside. So this does look very similar to a World War II helmet. It has the circled strap on the bottom of where the head would go, but this, and it is definitely known that it isn't because of the eyelet on the front, has OD7 webbing. So there's the circle on the webbing. It has OD7, so it's the green colour, with a headband just like the World War II, and a nape strap. And this one actually, as you can see, has an OD3 World War II original nape strap at the back. So this here is called a nape strap. It goes at the back, supports the head of the wearer. It's a soft material, so it's just nicer. My other helmet unfortunately doesn't have one on, it's just either fallen off. These here are for the leather chin strap to go on the front. But overall, I'm pretty happy. One of the main key things that you need to know with the liner is there will always be a maker's mark at the bottom. Now, as you can see on this one, it has it at the bottom here. If I can just show you, you will see. Let's just stand up. It's very difficult to see, but it has a US 10, and then it looks to have the letters of MII or M11. Now, in fact, those M11, which is here, does not stand for that. I will put a photo in, as you can't see very well here, but the M11 does not stand for just simply M11, it is MII, and the MII stands for Micarta. So Micarta is a subdivision of Westinghouse, and Westinghouse made US World War II liners in World War II. It was the company that made the most liners, and they have a subdivision that went on after Korea and World War II. There were also Micarta liners that have the eyelets on the front that were made for Korea, but this one is a early 60s one, I presume, by the fact that it doesn't have the eyelet. Now, on a P64 liner, but not typically on a P55 because they are worn, here would have a date on. Now, just to show you, the back of the headband here does in fact have still its writing, and it would look just like this. And as you can see, just there, it has 67. So I wasn't sure whether this was a complete 1967 helmet, but when I actually did the research and found out the P64s were made in 1964, then I thought, I think the headband must have been replaced. So I thought the liner must be newer. Also, when I bought the helmet, they said that it wasn't named, but as you can see there in the light, it's once again difficult to see. It actually has the name Speed, S-P-E-D, Speed, and it's like it's worn off the writing, but you can see where it's been engraved into the leather. What I also found interesting is it has an M, and what I presume only could look in the alphabet as an N. Now, I bought the helmet from Minnesota, and the abbreviation for Minnesota is MN. So I could only presume that this is an original from that veteran's estate. I was just taking their word on that, but it has Speed, and then it has MN on the side. So that is something to look for. Usually, if a wearer was to wear a helmet, the helmet name would be on the helmet band, but sometimes, just like in this case, I found that when I wiped it down and just cleaned it and just took the dust off it, that there was a name inside called Speed. So whoever owned this helmet was called Speed, Mr. Speed, Mrs. Speed, Miss Speed, but they own this helmet. So that is all I know and can give you information on the liner. So there's just a few key facts. The fact that it is a P55 liner, to look for the OD7 webbing, the P64 liners do not have this circular webbing part like the World War II ones and these Korean late 60s, earlier 60s ones, late 50s, and they would go straight over the middle in like a straight, and then a straight. So yes, that is my P55 liner. Bit battered. But on to the next item, which I think I will do the helmet now. So this is actually the helmet itself, the metal shell that's underneath the cover. It is a World War II helmet. Now, if you are looking at photos of World War II helmets to buy, or you simply go into a shop, the dark green paint will give it away. These little bumps here, that's called caulking. It was on World War II helmets. It's to reduce the shine, as you can see. The paint is still quite shiny. But what's also a given for a World War II helmet is you need to check the seams. Now, this is what a seam is. So it's simply just a seam, and this one is a front seam. They will also have a rear seam, and I will show you that in my next video on my other World War II, well, a Vietnam helmet, but it has a World War II shell on the inside, and that is a rear seam. Now, what's an also major key of looking for a World War II helmet is the rim material itself. Now, if you see ones like this, and you'll see photos of them where the paint has chipped away to reveal this nice shiny metal. This is stainless steel. So this is a stainless steel rim, front seam. Now, typically, I'd say they are early war. McCord, they are early war. They are early to mid-war. So they did change later in the war, around 1944, to have it as rear seam. And this metal that the helmet is made out of is called manganese steel. On all the new helmets, they made the rim out of manganese steel, not stainless steel. So when you see the paint chip away like this, this is a stainless steel rim. See how the paint chipped away? The reason why they did that is if it ever chipped away and you was in combat, you would seriously get glare and shine off the shininess of the stainless steel, which soldiers really don't like. So then they replaced it with the manganese steel, which worked a lot better. The paint didn't chip away, but they are some of the main key factors. So if you see a front seam, that's a good chance that it's early war, or at least early to mid-war, so 1943. And if it had, 1944, I suppose, maybe you have some late ones, and the stainless steel rim. Now, when I first went to purchase this on eBay, they didn't say whether it was McCord or Schluter. McCord and Schluter are the two manufacturers of World War II helmets. McCord made 20 million and Schluter made 2 million. So about, it's a good proportion was McCord. I have already my first helmet. I didn't know, and I don't think the seller knew either, that it was a Schluter. But it's a late war Schluter, so it's a rear seam, manganese steel rim, swivel bail, and I'll get onto bails in a moment. So I thought this was, from the photos and asking them to send me a photo, I did think this was a McCord. However, when I received the helmet a month later, I looked on the underneath, and this is what you should always do when looking for a helmet. Over. So, as you can see, it seems it's had a repaint on the inside, because it's definitely not the same green. It's almost like a pea green, and that's indicating a sign that it was reused. But on a World War II helmet, or mainly all helmets up to a certain year, they will have a heat stamp at the front. So a heat stamp indicates a year and month of production, and there are a lot of websites that you can use. I'll put the link in the description for the Schluter one. The McCord one is in a book, the ETO of helmets, I think. I don't have it because it's a very expensive book, but it is a very good reference book, and it's always good to have reference books. I've done a lot of my research online. But as you can see there, where the seam is, there is usually always a heat stamp, and you can just see in this light, there it is. So it's 355A. Now, I worked out that that was early war, so I thought, yes, on the photos, that is an early war McCord. It's got a good heat stamp. That's like not late 1942 to 1943. And I thought, because it's been reused, possibly in the Korean War, that it would have come with something called fixed bales. These are swivel bales. So, as you can see, I mean, they are pretty stiff. These swivel. Fixed bales were, as they say, fixed. They were welded on. Now, I thought this may, like some helmets, have been repurposed. So, at the end of the war, they would have been, swivel bales would have been put on and the fixed bales taken off. And I was looking for an indicator just in halfway between. There would have been a little puncture hole. It's like a little dent that indicates that it was a fixed bale. Now, when I got it, I was confused because I didn't see this small little dent either side to show it was fixed bale, which confused me. So then I looked down here to try and find it, and I haven't removed any paint. I don't particularly want to. But just there is the bottom of an S. I'm pretty sure, because I looked at it on my other helmet, which is also a Schluter, and it corresponds to being a Schluter, and that is why it made sense that it actually has fixed bales and no sign of being, it's a swivel bale and had no signs of being a fixed bale, because it never actually was a fixed bale. It has always been a swivel bale with a heat stamp of 355A, which I was sad in one sense because I was hoping for an early war McCord, but fortunately it was a Schluter. So Schluters are rarer for the fact that they only made 2 million compared to McCord's 20. But it would have been roughly made in around late October, September, November-ish time of 1944. So after D-Day, when the Allies were closing in on Germany and pushing them back. I'm just trying to think whether there's anything else. So we've covered the manganese steel with a stainless steel rim. We've covered the fixed and swivel bales. They're very important. So if you have a fixed bale helmet, that is definitely early war, but some of them may have been replaced. As you can see, these have, there's also a clear sign that it is a Korean or, well, definitely a Vietnam era, as it has these chin straps that hook on, as you can see, attached to the swivel bales, so it can easily move. But yes, that is what my actual steel helmet looks like from the underside. That's what it looks like from above. As you can see, they have the paint is really badly chipped away. There's a few little dings, but I was happy that it was a US helmet. Now, McCord and Schluter were World War II helmets, but there were manufacturers of helmets after the war. One being McCord still, except the heat stamp would be different. So instead of just having a number such as like 565B, where it's simply just numbers with a letter of A, B or C, or a Schluter that would have numbers with the letter S. That's always to look for with a Schluter with the letter S, where I'll show you easily on my other helmet. But McCord also made later versions, and the heat stamp would always have the letter M in front of the heat stamp. So it would say M105A. Those are the later Micartas, and those Micartas would not have a front seam like the World War II early editions, and would definitely not have a stainless steel rim. They would have a manganese rim, so it would still be painted the same colour, it would be painted the same as the helmet, and it would not chip away like this. There was also a company called Ingersoll. They also made helmets at the end of the war, and they have long numbers, so typically it's 4 letters, so 1146. That would be an Ingersoll, would be a swivel bale, and Micarta, just like the Micarta, it would have a rear seam, manganese rim. And there was also another company that also made the Chinstraps called Parish Division of the Dana Corporation, and those heat stamps, just like on these helmets where it would be at the front here, there would be anywhere in the helmet. They could be upside down, they could be over there, they could be at the back. They are definitely one to look for because they are the rarer of the makers of World War II helmets. They are late war helmets though, and late war being Vietnam War. But yes, overall this is what my helmet would look like on the inside. Always look for a letter S because it may be a Schluter, just like this one, and the heat stamp would usually be around here on the frontish of the helmet on the inside. So here is the cover taken off the helmet. As you can see underneath, there is a brown side to the winter side. Now, as you can see, there are flaps. This is a short flap. Later they made them so they were slightly longer. But this is a short flapped version, and on the flaps, you will see here that it has cover helmet camouflage, and then this one has a contract number because it's an early war one, with the 8415-261-6833. Now, the contract number 8189 will correspond on the website in the description to a helmet, so you could have contract number 9205. I'm just making this up. Or, and unfortunately I don't have one to show you, but it may just have DSA and then a load of different numbers, and then just like how it has in the liner, which I'll show you here, it will just have the date. So this one has a contract number just like that, which you'd have to correspond to a date. But some of them are just simply as easy as seeing that it has DSA, and then it may have 100, and in this case it has the 67 there. And that's what that's what your line, or the helmet cover, sorry, that's what your helmet cover could have. It's always best to check. It'll always say underneath here, and always easily is seen if you go and look. If you can manage to take off the cover when you've gone to look at one, then that will be an indicator. Or simply when you're looking online, it hopefully may say, you may see it in the photos, and then you can simply search it so you know what cover it has, or hopefully the seller has put it in the description of what year it is. But that is a very, very simple way of knowing what the date is on your Mitchell cover. And I think that wraps up the video. I think I've covered everything. So those are my things to look for as a beginner in collecting a Vietnam War helmet, US Vietnam War helmet. In this case, I do have a World War II helmet, but there are a lot of websites and good forums where you can look to find information and good useful facts on Korean and Vietnam ones, so the Ingersoll and the Dana Corporation helmets. But yes, I think that wraps up the video, so thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I've also put my Instagram link down in the description below, and it's on my channel, so if anyone wants to ask me any questions, I will try at my best and help you if you're unsure on what to look for when you're purchasing a helmet. So thank you very much, and goodbye.